Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So Robbie Amell has just been cast as the Ronnie Raymond Firestorm on season 1 of The Flash. I know everyone really wanted him to be Nightwing on Arrow, but this is going to be just as cool, trust me. So this video is going to be a breakdown of the character, as well as how I think he's going to integrate with Team Flash and Arrow crossovers. Amell Wednesdays are totally making a comeback. Hello any new people. If you're just finding me for the first time, I'm doing Arrow and Flash bonus videos all summer long. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. If you really want to travel down the Arrowverse YouTube rabbit hole, I have some extra links in the description. So somebody blew one of their genie wishes and Robbie Amell was brought into the Arrowverse. He's actually going to debut as Ronnie Raymond and will eventually become Firestorm. There have been a bunch of different versions of that character from the comics, but Ronnie Raymond is the original one. So what is his origin story, you ask? Ronnie Raymond was a high school student who was caught in a nuclear explosion with Nobel Prize-winning physics professor Martin Stein. As a result of the explosion, they fused to form Firestorm, the nuclear man, or the Firestorm Matrix, depending on how you want to think about it. Because Professor Stein was unconscious whenever the blast happened, Ronnie Raymond essentially became the driving force of the Firestorm character, and Professor Stein became like this ghostly talking head. So a lot of the fun moments from the character came from the witty banter between the two of those characters whenever they were stuck inside Firestorm. Think of it as like Tony Stark cracking wise with Jarvis whenever he's inside his Iron Man suit and they have that heads-up display. So this all happened back in the late 1970s. That's when he debuted in the comics. Then this really big thing happened in the DC universe where they canceled most of their ongoing series. It was actually called the DC Implosion. After that, Firestorm, the character, was written into the Justice League, and then later he got his own short stories at the end of the Flash comics. Sometimes they do that with the really popular comics. They'll give lesser characters like their own little stories at the end of the really popular ones. So there's actually a long history of Firestorm being paired up with the Flash, so it's kind of historic letting that character debut on the Flash show instead of on Arrow, even though Arrow is technically the bigger show right now. So yes, The Flash takes place in Central City, but the Firestorm character was mostly seen around Ivy City and New York. Here's where we start to cross over with Arrow. The new character Brandon Routh is playing on that show is Ray Palmer, his version of the Atom. He was a professor at Ivy University in Ivy City. After Ronnie Raymond graduated from high school, he went to Ivy University and studied under Ray Palmer. Arrow and the Flash will probably change their backstories a little, but even when they mess with the comic book stuff, they're always really good about including all that stuff as Easter eggs from the comics. Arrow has a long tradition of putting signs on buses and using street names for Easter eggs. So what about the Firestorm character? Isn't it supposed to be two different people? Are they going to do that on the Flash? So the actual character of Firestorm is the physical person you're looking at when he's flying around. The Firestorm Matrix is what the combination of two people are whenever they're operating Firestorm. Think of it as like a transformer combiner. It's like Ronnie Raymond and Professor Stein are Constructicons and they combine to form Devastator. One person is capable of being Firestorm by himself, but Professor Stein in the comics speculated that the Firestorm Matrix was not designed to be operated by just one person. And then later in the comics, whenever Ronnie Raymond was being Firestorm by himself, he ended up causing this huge accident when he became unstable. Whenever that happens to Firestorm, whenever he becomes unstable, he causes a massive nuclear explosion, which is obviously really, really bad. Think of it as being like the particle accelerator explosion times 10. So you're asking, how is the Flash TV show going to deal with this character? They're probably not going to do the 2-in-1 thing, but if they decided to make Firestorm the combination of Robbie Amell and a Star Labs person, they might make it look like a Tony Stark inside his Iron Man suit thing, you know, whenever he's talking to Jarvis, heads-up display. If that's the case, the closest analog for Professor Stein that they've established on The Flash already is the Tom Cavanaugh character. But if you've seen the Flash pilot, you know that they're probably not going to do that. They're probably doing something else with the Tom Cavanaugh character. I don't think he's going to be the Professor Stein person. I think they're just going to make it simpler and make Robbie Amell be Firestorm by himself. Arrow and the Flash already have made a lot of changes to the backstories of certain characters, but I do feel like they're going to tease him going nuclear if he can't learn to control his powers. So what are his powers specifically? In the comics, he has the ability to reorganize the atomic structure of anything that has mass. So any object can be turned into any other object, but he does have to obey the laws of conservation of energy. So the new things he creates have to have the same mass as the original objects. He can't turn, say, like a rock into a car. So whenever you're thinking about Firestorm making things with his powers or rearranging atoms and making new things, think of it as like the Green Lanterns making constructs with their rings, only it's permanent. The Green Lantern constructs only last as long as the Green Lanterns are thinking about them. Once Firestorm, say, turns your headphones into a keyboard and flies away, the keyboard doesn't disappear, it stays a keyboard. Oh, and yeah, he can fly. He'll be the first character on The Flash that we have that can fly, unless they introduced someone before him that could fly. Technically, The Flash is fast enough to run on air, but just in the comics. I don't think that they're going to do that on the show. I don't think we're going to see Grant Gustin running through the clouds. So how is the show going to handle the Firestorm origin story? It all goes back to that particle accelerator explosion. Due to Robbie Amell's age being pretty much the same as all the other characters on the show, it's possible that they could either make him a Star Labs technician or a normal person living in Central City who was just caught in the blast. Do expect there to be lots of Easter eggs from the Firestorm comics whenever they do tell that origin story. Since Firestorm is a hero and not a villain, it's easy to assume that he'll eventually work with Team Flash, even if he's not a series regular. It's possible that in the grand tradition of Arrow, they could wait till the mid-season finale to introduce the character. They probably will reveal something about that at Comic-Con. Like they'll tell us which episode he's going to debut in. So just based on the CGI from the Flash pilot, I'm really excited to see how they manifest Firestorm powers on screen. I think it's going to look really cool. But at least for now, they have tuned down the level of the Flash's powers from the comics, so they might do the same thing with Firestorm. There is a precedent in the comics for the Flash being limited to certain speeds. When he's the only Flash around, he can tap into more of the Speed Force and go faster. The Speed Force is like a faucet. If two Flashes are drinking from it at the same time, each of them gets less power, so they both run slower. If Barry is the only Flash in town, he can run so fast that he can travel through time. So whenever that first episode debuts, if you think he is running slow, it might be because Professor Zoom is nearby. The funny thing about Firestorm is that almost anybody can merge with Robbie Amell to form the Firestorm Matrix. People that merge do not retain memories of what they did while they were part of Firestorm until they're Firestorm again. So if Robbie Amell, say, sucked in Cisco Ramon to make Firestorm, when they split again, Cisco would not remember being Firestorm until they merged again. I'm interested to see if the show plays with this idea. They just have Robbie Amell merge with a bunch of different characters, and all those characters just have no idea what they just did. But when are we going to see a full-on Firestorm? Probably not right away. Just like Arrow did with Barry Allen, they introduced the human first, then they turned him into the superhero. Because they've already shot the pilot episode and the Star Labs explosion happened 9 months ago in the timeline, they might have to retcon the story a little if they want Ronnie Raymond to become Firestorm for the first time during Season 1. Or they could tell his origin story in a flashback. Either way, it's going to be really exciting. But I did say that Robbie Amell's character and Brandon Routh's character on Arrow have a common history. What about crossovers? Those characters had a common origin in the comics, but don't be surprised if Arrow and the Flash find some sort of common ground for their backstories, even if they change the comic book characters. They haven't said which bits from the comics they're going to be incorporating into the Atom and the Firestorm characters yet, but they're usually pretty good about setting that up in the first couple of scenes to feature the characters. So whenever Brandon Routh and Robbie Amell appear for the first time on screen, you'll know pretty quickly where they came from and what their origins are. Just as an example of something really big that Arrow has already changed, Felicity Smoke was Ronnie Raymond's stepmother in the comics. Obviously, Emily Bett Ricard's version of the character isn't going to be Robbie Amell's stepmom, but it's possible the show could use MIT as a common point of origin for them. It's just my opinion, but if Brandon Routh's character is supposed to be a tech genius, it only makes sense. And if Ronnie Raymond is supposed to be connected to Star Labs, then also connecting him to MIT isn't a big stretch. So will Robbie Amell be on Arrow or have any scenes with Stephen Amell on screen? Probably not at first. Right now, we really only know for certain Stephen Amell is going to be on The Flash, at least in the first couple of episodes. The other characters will probably cameo eventually, but until Robbie Amell is introduced in his own Flash episode and starts to develop his relationship with those characters, do not expect him to interact with any of the Arrow characters. But yes, the really big question is TV Justice League team-up. I do think that both shows will build towards a mega team-up episode, hopefully by the end of this season. I do understand if they can't make it work right away, but hopefully at least by Flash Season 2 and Arrow Season 4, we'll see all of these characters in the same episode. So whichever you guys burn that genie wish to get Robbie Amell on The Flash, just burn one more and we'll get our TV Justice League Arrowverse team-up. And I know that everyone wants to see the TV characters in the movies, but that's not really the way Warner Brothers is doing things. They're not Marvel. So even though Clark Gregg and Sam Jackson get to bounce back and forth, it doesn't mean stuff owned by a different studio, Warner Brothers in this case, will work the same way. But that does not mean that they cannot do their own Justice League with the TV characters. So now it's your turn. Let me know in the comments below. How long do you think it's going to be before we get to see Robbie Amell in like full-on Firestorm costume? And when do you think that Arrow is going to do the big Justice League team up with those TV characters? So in related news, there is a whole bunch of Comic-Con stuff happening next week. Be sure to subscribe to get all my videos. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of different giveaways for each of the TV shows and movies and stuff that I do. I'll explain that whenever I start posting those Comic-Con videos though. In the meantime, click here to learn about Brandon Routh's Adam character, and click here to learn about the Katana character. They're both coming to Arrow Season 3. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. High fives.